Hello, my name is Katherine Robinson. For my final project in Sociology of Crime and Violence, I've chosen to research the topic of intervention on the issue of campus rape. I began my research using an article involving a University of Virginia student known only as Jackie. She had falsely claimed that she had been gang raped during a party hosted by a fraternity on campus. Jackie's story not only effectively ruined the lives of her alleged attackers, but it added to the stigma attached to rape, and in essence added to the difficulty that actual victims of sexual assault face when reporting their attack. In the beginning, I was focused on how the media had impacted rape culture on college campuses and how that may have caused society to become desensitized when it comes to sexual assault. As my research has expanded, I've shifted my stance more to reflect research of scientific data and research involving campus rape. The perpetrators of sexual assault that occurs on campus, how many of those are actually committed by classmates, how many led to a prosecution, and what's being done to prevent future cases of rape on campus. Every 2 minutes, someone in the United States is sexually assaulted. 1 out of 6 American women has been the victim of an attempted or completed rape at some point in her lifetime, and the United States ranks 6th in the world among countries with the highest rape counts. According to the National Alliance to End Sexual Violence, 1 in 5 women has been sexually assaulted while in college. The NAESB then goes on to say that only a small fraction of those rapes are even reported, and this is allowing offenders who typically have multiple victims to escape punishment, and it's creating an unsafe environment for students. Only 12% of college rape survivors will report their rape to the police. When considering campus rape, there are several stereotypes that people assume to be true. These include, but are not limited to, rapists always being strangers, that people who use drugs or alcohol are unable to know whether they consented or not, that rape only happens in isolated areas, and that women who dress provocatively or act promiscuously are in fact asking to be raped. The UK's Coventry of Rape and Sexual Abuse Center disputes these common myths involving campus rape. According to the CRASAC, 90% of serious sexual offenses are perpetrated by someone known to the victim. They also state that someone who is drunk, drugged, or unconscious cannot legally consent to sex. It is also mentioned that 60% of women are assaulted inside of a public building and 31% are assaulted inside of their own homes. This decimates the common belief that rape typically occurs in secluded locations. The Coventry also stated that just because a woman dresses provocatively or has multiple sexual partners does not make her okay with unconsented sexual advances. On the flip side of this, in false rape allegations, like the one detailed in the Rolling Stone magazine by a University of Virginia student, society feeds into stereotypes regarding rapists as well. It was easy for the author of the Rolling Stone article to empathize with the alleged victim and to believe her story, because a group of drunken frat boys gang raping an unsuspecting student seemed legitimate. We hear a lot of cases of campus rape where a female student is assaulted by a member of her peers, and this has caused society to view all frat boys as deviants. Society assumes that all rapists are monsters or horrible people, when in fact the majority of rapists are respected members of their community. It is also worth noting that being a rapist does not indicate the presence of a psychological disorder, and that only a small percentage of rapists actually need psychological treatment or suffer from any mental illness. In 1957, a sociologist named Eugene Cannon theorized that men use secrecy and the negative stigma attached to rape in order to pressure, coerce, and exploit their female counterparts. According to NPR, in the 1980s, the term date rape was coined, and at that time, 7.7% of male students stated anonymously that they had either attempted or engaged in rape. Shockingly, when questioned further, none of them viewed their actions as being a crime. Throughout the reported history of campus rape, one thing has always remained constant. That single unchanging constant is the fact that patriarchy saturates campus rape culture. Unfortunately, the patriarchy that is present on most college campuses exploits the victim's distress and also tends to shift the blame for the assault from the perpetrator to the victim, which installs a sense of shame and a decrease in the victim's image of self-worth. The Hampton Institute states that 90% of campus rapes are perpetrated by about 3% of college men, meaning that if those who commit sexual assault were prosecuted, the number of annual sexual assaults on campus would drop dramatically. Beginning in 2011, the Obama administration began changing the way that society and the government view campus rape. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, on April 29, 2011, the White House Task Force to Protect Students from Sexual Assault presented a report titled Not Alone. This report from the task force provides schools and colleges with practices and guidelines regarding sexual assault, while also improving communication and transparency with the federal government's on-campus sexual assault enforcement activities, and holding schools and colleges accountable for confronting sexual assault head-on rather than deferring the responsibility to someone else. With the proper education, social advocacy, and reporting, rates of sexual assault on college campuses would be greatly reduced and victims could be provided with the help and support that they need. Thank you.